Yeah. Hello,
I
hello.
thought you bailed on me, Nathan.
No, no. I, I, I have lots of my security all turned off on my phone, including the camera. So it said, "Oh, you can join, but you've got
Yeah.
to give access to the camera to Facebook." So,
Well,
I
Thursday night, 8 o'clock at night, and this is everything everyone wants to be doing. So thank you for joining us, and I'm so excited you're here. I was giving a little bit of a spiel about what you guys are about and why I've wanted to partner with you, and why you're here for anyone who does have any questions about pet insurance. And we've already got some questions about dog and pet behaviour, and I'm
yeah,
sure we'll get some questions about how can you get extras for behaviour, because this is not something that I had heard of before I'd met you guys. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and talk about sort of what you do and why you guys are so passionate, and how you might be able to sort of give people an overview on how they can get insurance
yeah.
for behaviour with you guys?
You, you did a good job. I was listening before I went, so I could see you and heard what you said about us. So yeah, um, we started those to make Australian pets the happiest, the healthiest. We do some wellness plans, but our biggest product is pet insurance, and we wanted to do it differently. We saw there was nothing out there that we would buy. It didn't meet, in our view, pet owners' needs or their expectations. So that's when we created Knose, and had things on no sublimits, no per condition excess, those sort of things. But then we also wanted to make it look and feel, so that people could understand it better, a lot more like human health. And that's where
All
we're
right.
so in extras like human health, you've got alternative or supportive therapies like physio and chiro and those sort of things. There is chiro for dogs,
Yep.
uh, and behaviour. So cover if you have a puppy and then later it has behavioural problems and you need to go to a behaviouralist, then if you take up the extras cover, a bit like if you take out health insurance, then you'd be covered uh, for that for seeing a behaviouralist.
Okay.
Um, that's where when we met, gone, well, we want to do more. We have when you buy our Knose pet insurance, it's not just about the insurance. We have a 24/7 hotline. So if if you want to ring them and ask about what food and diet and exercise and any of those things, you can do that.
Wow.
People ring it at 3 o'clock in the morning when their dog starts vomiting and they don't know what to do. That's what it's really there for, but you can ring it for any reason. So it's not just about insurance. And that's why we wanted to team up with you and start to bring, hopefully, a lot of our customers, but people who aren't customers as well, some insights in how to live with the dog, have a better relationship with dog. You'll be happier, your dog will be happier, and
All right.
that goes to our core value of trying to make Australian pets the happiest in the world.
Yeah. I love that. And so if I've got a dog that's vomiting at 3 a.m. in the morning, as you were saying, because I didn't realize this with you guys, who am I talking to on the other end if I'm calling up that 24-hour
Yeah,
hotline?
so we've got vet nurses. We've teamed up with, we do a quid pro quo a little bit with a group in the UK, and they are vet nurses or vets. And we've chosen a team in the UK, similar culture, similar love of animals,
Yeah.
but the time zone really works for when most of the calls are going to come, and those emergency calls. Should I wait? Should I go to emergency? Really, that's the main thing. Should I go to emergency now, or can I wait and see my normal vet? And they'll help you make that decision.
That's so cool. That
But
actually reminds
they're
me, because I'm sorry, say that again, Nate.
they're awake, so that's why we team with them. The time zone works
Ah,
really well.
that makes so much sense. It reminds me, because I've got, as you know, I've got a 4-week-old baby, and a couple of times I've called the maternal child health hotline just to ask those questions. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you just need to talk to someone who actually knows what's going on, and sometimes just for peace of mind, or to know if
Yeah,
you actually need to go to the emergency vet clinic, straight away, or if you can wait till the morning. So that's really, really cool. We do have a couple of behaviour questions. Are you happy to sit back and chill out for a second whilst I answer those? And I'm sure we'll get some health insurance questions
Yeah.
coming along.
Well,
Is that
your
okay
answer
with you? All right.
will
Well,
be
you're very welcome to answer the behaviour questions if you want to. I'm happy to sit back and listen
well.
to what you've got to say.
I could answer and correct it, but
I've got Di McGregor here who's asked a great question. So I'm going to read it out to you, all of you guys. It might be something that pertains to you, even if it's not your dog, or you don't think it's a behaviour problem that you have. There are always similarities and links that we have between different sorts of dog behaviour. So it's definitely worth listening. Those who have tuned in. So Di McGregor says, I have an 18-month-old Jack Russell cross Chihuahua who is very quick. I plan on travelling across Australia soon and I'm worried about her snatching at a bait and not dropping it if I ask her to. What is the best way to build this rapport with her, please? And she's a rescue, so I don't have any history on her. Well, Di, that's a great question and something that I have lived through we drove across the Nullarbor to Perth just over a year ago to shoot a TV series. And when we were going over there, Di, we had all those worries of, different sorts of baits, fox baits, all those sorts of things, ticks, paralysis ticks, oh gosh, eagles with my little chihuahua. There are a whole range of different scary things when we were traveling across Australia. So I guess if you want to keep your dog safe in an environment that you cannot control and you cannot predict, you need to set yourself up for success. So what that would mean is having your dog on a lead. And even I, with my dogs being a bit gung-ho as a behaviourist, they amazing recall, I can let them off lead anywhere. I still kept my dogs, including Chester, on a lead because I wanted to allow them to sniff things, but I knew that there was bait out there, and that bait can come in the form of treats, which can be very, very difficult to ask even the most well-behaved dog to drop and to give back to you. So I think you really do need to keep your dogs on lead, and then gradually perhaps you can increase the length of that lead. You can buy long leads or you can get a rope from your local hardware store and work on recall. What I would do leading up to your travel also is teaching your dog the leave it cue. And that's done really easily through, once again, having your dog on a lead, getting them to look at you and really heavily rewarding them for looking at you. We just want eye contact. So that could be them just offering that and rewarding them, or actually teaching them to do that. So this could be this looks like a rude gesture, but this is actually teaching them to look at you. When they do that, then they get a really yummy treat. So that cue, yummy treat, that cue, yummy treat. And then what you can do is you can pair that cue with the leave it command. So they might see something in front of them they really want, but they're on lead. So they might go to get there, but they physically can't. When they give up and they look back at you like this, then they get the really high value reward. Pick up the forbidden item, put it somewhere and give them something way better out of your hand. So I think leave it, that cue is really, really valuable. There's lots of YouTube clips that I've got on my channel that you can look at. And certainly more than happy to help you offline if you need a little bit of sort of training, mentoring with that. But it's great that you're preparing your dog before you go, rather than just sort of doing it ad hoc as you're traveling across Australia. There are lots of warnings at all the campsites, so you do get told that there are possible baits out there. But yeah, the leave it cute and just keeping your dog on lead, even as I said, the best behaved dog is going to be someone that you need to physically manage, because treats are very, very difficult to say no to. So good luck and have a wonderful trip. And if you do need more help, then we're of course always here to help you. All right, I've got another question here. Hi Laura, sorry Nate, this one's for me as well. After every meal, my standard poodle puts a toy in her mouth and walks around crying. Cool. Interesting. And this is what I love about dog behaviors. It doesn't matter how much studying you do or how long you've been doing this for. There's always nuances to canine behavior, and always things we go, well, maybe it's this, or it could be this, or it could be that. And I think that's really important for us to remember, particularly when we're looking at managing behavior problems or behavior concerns, as a behaviorist myself, and this is where pet insurance becomes really valuable, is that I will always look at a behavior as a possible pathology. So what that means is that if my dog is, you know, chasing imaginary flies, or chasing his tail, or you know, running around with a toy in his mouth crying, for example, or has excessive hunger, or is having accidents inside, my first port of call is going to be, is there something going on with my dog or my cat or whomever physically? So I always make sure that every single client of mine sees a vet first, and any necessary testing is done, because there's no point treating the psychology of something if there's something physiologically going on. So vets are my right hand men. They're kind of like your dog's GP, and I'm like your dog's psychologist, or your human psychologist as well. So I don't think that there's a pathology going on with this behaviour. I think that it's likely a comfort behaviour. I'm wondering what kinds of Labrador, of course. So Labradors are innately driven to put things in their mouth, which no doubt you know about. Uh, Hang on, sorry, wrong question. Hang on. No, not a Labrador, a poodle. And certainly poodles are incredibly intelligent as well, and they are known to be picking up things in their mouth and particularly getting attention as well. So it might be that your dog's overstimulated, they're excitable, perhaps they're getting attention. Do I think it's something that we need to change or be concerned about? No. Picking up something and expressing their emotional state is very generally a very normal thing. So I think probably, Sue, is it just sort of that you're wondering about why they're doing that, or are you concerned that they're in pain or they're distressed? I think most likely if they're eating all their food, they're happy, healthy otherwise, and they're doing that afterwards. It's just their their way of saying, hey, that was awesome, but I'd probably like a little bit more. And yeah, as you're saying, Sue, we've seen the vet, all good. And so, and as I said before, I think it's beautiful to watch a different species behave in ways that we don't understand. We don't have to understand everything that our dogs do, as long as they're happy and healthy. Then it's just one of those things. Oh, she seems distressed. Okay, what I'd love you to do, Sue, is I'll get you to film it for me if you can, because distressed from your point of view might be different to my point of view, and it might be different to your dog's point of view as well. So let's have a look at it. What's going on? Are they pacing? Are they panting? How old are they? There's a whole range of different other questions that we need to ask and observe what's going on in that pattern of behavior. Does it happen every single time your dog's eaten? What other sorts of signs are going on for that? So what I'll get you to do is film it for me. My email is laura@laurav.com.au. We'll check it out, and the next online live chat that we do with Nathan and Knose Pet Insurance, we can go through that and sort of figure out what was causing it and whether or not there is something actually going on there. All right. I did see a question about a Labrador here. Oh, there's a question for you, Nathan. What is the cutoff age in older dogs for pet insurance? Do you want to answer that one whilst I'm having a look?
Yeah, sure. So we'd love to take all pets. And once you've got insurance, you can keep renewing to whatever age they get to. We do have a cut off, and it's not because we don't want those older pets to join, but it's because we want to only sell products or sell insurance with someone that is useful to someone. So we have a cutoff of 9 years. So your pet has to be under 9 years old. And the reason is by then there's a more and more likelihood that you have lots of pre-existing conditions that won't be covered. And we don't want to sell a product that you won't get use out of, and you would be wasting your money. So that's why we have the cutoff. So the cutoff is once it turns 9, you can't start a policy. But once you start a policy, you can keep renewing up to 14, 15, 16, however old your pet gets.
Okay. And in terms of a pre-existing condition, Nathan, can you explain what that kind of means and how that works for people?
Yeah. So if you think of insurance, what are we doing? Where there's a whole group of people, pet owners, that you might be lucky, and you might have your normal vet visits for your annual checkups, and nothing ever goes wrong, and you don't pay any extra money for the unexpected. Or you might be really unlucky, and you have a your dog has a picker, so it keeps eating and needs operations because it eats foreign bodies over and over again. It just eats weird socks, whatever. You might have lots of bad luck, and you've just paying lots out at the vet. What are we doing? We're going, well, you can take the risk, or you can pool your money together, and the people who have the bad luck get paid out, and we help support them financially, and we're the ones actually managing that pool of money for everyone. I hope that makes sense. So pre-existing is about making sure that when someone buys and joins that pool, that they're not buying it to get everyone else that's in the pool to effectively pay for something they know is already wrong.
Okay.
So if your dog is limping and you know something is really wrong, you can't get insurance and expect the insurance coming to pay out, because the way we price is we keep coming back to what's the risk for your dog, what's the statistics. It's very statistical. If you love maths, you can come and join us. What's the risk of the payout for you? And obviously, we need to keep some money for us to administer it all. And that's why really the pre-existings is to protect that whole pool of other pet owners that they are paying for something someone already knows about.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I guess that's with any insurance, isn't it? You can't sort of, have something pre-existing and then try to get that covered afterwards.
Yeah. So if you've crashed your car, you can't then ring up and get insurance and expect the insurance company to pay for insurance is the same. Now we understand most conditions are actually curable. So it depends on the condition. If you've got a young puppy and it's vomiting, and it stops vomiting, and 3 months later hasn't vomited for 3 months, we'll remove that pre-existing. It won't be pre-existing anymore.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but
right.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily for life. I think 80% of the conditions that how we rate them are curable. There might be other things that are 2 years. It'll be 2 years before you have to be symptom free before we can be sure that you will remove the pre-existing. And then there's things like if you've had kidney failure, if your pet's had kidney failure, that's for life.
Yeah.
So we try to be fair. If it might be pre-existing at the start, you might have a few of them, but if they're curable and they get cured, then fair enough, you're back in. It's not pre-existing anymore.
And is that sort of it's for you to determine it not being pre-existing? Is that in the clinical notes of the vet that you would see over that 3-month period? Then you'd be able to show that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense.
We even offer an upfront if you're worried. And some people are. They buy a policy. We'll do a full assessment and give you a list. These are the things, or maybe none, that we see as pre-existing, and when would we be willing to review them? So some things might be, like I said, 3 months. Some things might be up to the longest is 2 years, and other things might be that's for life. That's a lifelong issue. It's non-curable.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes complete sense. It's interesting. We've got a question here, Nathan, from Melissa, who's talking about a Labrador, and I was reading an interesting research paper the other day about how Labradors may have a genetic mutation that makes them more hungry more often. So it's actually not that they're just greedy, greedy gutsers. They've actually got this genetic predisposition to be greedy gutsers. And in this study, they found that although they were happy to eat the same amount of food as the other breeds, during the resting period, they showed signs or cues of being more hungry more often. So they'd kind of wake up and show signs of wanting to, get the sausage in the container more than the other breeds did. And also during that resting time, not only were they more hungry, they actually use less energy to rest. So when they were looking at their respiration rate, they use 25% less energy. So they're eating more and they're using less energy to exist. And
Yeah.
that's, thought to be through, this genetic mutation that is unique to Labradors and flat-coated retrievers. I thought that was really interesting. So if you have a Labrador out there, and I know that Melissa's got this question about this, you've got a 2-year-old Labrador who's discovered that your 10-month-old baby is an easy food target. I'm glad to keep reading that because I was worried that the baby was the food target. But what you're saying is your baby deliberately tries to feed her now, aside from separating them completely. If food is around, is there a better way to stop my Labrador trying to snatch food out of my baby's hands? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, just before I answer that, Nathan, do you find that there are particular breeds that present to vets for particular reasons? Like, are there more Labradors that eat socks than other breeds because they are those greedy eaters?
Yeah, well, now I wish I'd done some stats on it and put it up. I haven't
Just anecdotally from your experience.
but there's very much different behaviours. If we're talking about behaviour, different behaviours more likely in some pets to others. Different conditions are very much more likely from one breed to another breed. And you've got sort of those groups of breeds as well. You've sort of got trends with the hounds versus the retrievers you're talking about, and you can get some stats and see some really big differences between the two.
Yeah, I know from some what I've heard through vet friends and specialists that your sausage dogs and your brachycephalic dogs present a lot more. So your French bulldogs, particularly, they can have a whole range of different sort
Yeah.
of ailments, I suppose. So are they more expensive to insure than your regular mutt like my Harry is out here?
Uh, Generally, yes.
Yep.
So obviously, it depends on the breed. So you've got certain breeds. The brachy breeds tend to have a lot of issues, and not just the breathing issues, but other issues associated with with their history. Um, and then you can sort of go, the bigger breeds tend to have issues because they're big and bulky and tend to have a lot of ligament issues. And then when something does go wrong, they're more expensive.
Yeah.
And your
Of
little
course.
dogs don't have some of those issues. And if they do have, again, the operation or whatever has to happen
Yeah.
or the drugs they need it costs less because they're just smaller. And then, like you said, you've got those predispositions for those purebred dogs,
Yeah.
and they'll have very specific issues that are not unique but
Oh,
very strong
that's definitely true.
to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
the mutts, well, they've got lots in them, so usually it offsets and they're healthier. And you can see with some of the designer dogs as well, where they're well bred, usually they've come from two purebred dogs, and it usually offsets a little bit. And you can see that in the pricing. Like we are very pure on the statistics. So if you look at the pricing and if you put everything else the same in and you swap around breeds, you'll see the prices go up and down.
Yeah.
And so you can see how much admin you might have in going to
Yeah.
the vet a lot, but not going
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, well, Harry, I'm proud to say he's been with me for a year and a half. He hasn't been to the vet yet, but my dog Chester is there once a month having some sort of test. So it
Yeah.
definitely depends.
The other, well, interesting to me, I hope it's interesting to you and everyone listening, because we've got our stats and then we've got stats for the UK and the US and some other places. Some breeds are different in different locations. So fox terriers are generally pretty healthy here in Australia, but in the US, not so much. So there's something different in the breed lines in the two countries.
Isn't it
Yeah,
interesting?
really interesting.
Yes. So whatever our genetic pool is here is having some sort of mixture that's more robust genetically perhaps than the ones
Yeah,
over there.
yeah.
So fascinating, isn't it?
Unless the environment
Yeah.
is better, but I can't imagine that's
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah, well, that's really
Mm.
interesting. Well, I guess to answer your question, Melissa, in a long-winded way, um, really, there's not much you can do because you are unable to physically manage that environment without the use of a puppy pen or a lead or separating them. Because you can't control what your 10-month-old is doing all the time. And what's probably happening is your 10-month-old is looking at you, seeing if you're looking, and then they'll just drop a bit of their sandwich. And so they are intermittently reinforcing a behavior of your dog, sort of scavenging. And so they've got this little relationship, this little deal going on. You're just trying to manage it. You're the outsider. So you can't reason with the 10-month-old to stop doing this. You can't really reason with the dog because why the hell would they listen to you when they can get free sandwiches, every half hour? So I would physically manage that environment. We don't want to punish a dog for doing something very natural, which is to scavenge food. That's how dogs have, lived for tens of thousands of years and continue to thrive doing so. But we may want to, teach your dog to leave it because if they leave the sandwich, then there's the equivalent of 10 sandwiches coming out of your hand. So when we're teaching a dog to leave something forbidden or foreign or potentially dangerous in front of them, we're telling them, hey, come over to me. I've got your back because there's something way better over here. And as I was saying to a previous person tuning in, you need to physically do that with a long lead. Let them see that bit of sandwich or your toddler sort of walking around. Let them kind of get to the end of that tether where they kind of see it, but they're not actually able to get to that food. And then when they come back to you, tell them to look or to leave it or whatever it is, and then give them something much better than what they would have gotten from your 10-month-old. It does require patience and consistency. I imagine with a 10-month-old, you don't have a huge amount of that, but definitely worthwhile having a crack at that in combination with, when you don't have the mental bandwidth to do that training, to pop your dog in a puppy pen or put your 10-month-old in there and just separate them because you need to set yourselves up to succeed. Because even if, 1 out of 20 times the dog gets that sandwich, they're going to do it again and again and again and again. So you've got to make sure it's 100% consistent so that you can teach your dog every time I see that, I come to you and something better happens. But yeah, it definitely does take patience and consistency. And as a new mum, I'm sure that's something that you need to sort of weigh up. So hopefully, hopefully you can get to the bottom of that and keep us posted because we're going to do this once every couple of months. So let us know how you're going. I'm sure, I'm more than happy to answer questions through my website if you guys have got questions after this as well. So yeah, Labradors are genetically set up to fail. And then they've got a cute little 10-month-old with sandwiches everywhere. Like, what can you expect from a Labrador? It's really tricky. All right, let's see if we've got any other questions. I do have, okay. So just Nathan, quickly, we've got Ezra here saying that they're currently with Bupa Pet Insurance, but looking at other options for her fur kids who are Frenchies. What's the best way to see if a policy with you guys would be better?
Well, again, switching is very hard. It's not the same as human health because of that pre-existing condition that we spoke, kid pre-existing conditions that we spoke about before. Um, I can't give any personal advice on how to switch or when to switch. I can tell you what some people do, and they do get a policy with us. They get a pre-existing condition assessment done, and then when there's a lot of pre-existing conditions, they cancel and then stick with where they are, or vice versa. So that's something some people do.
Okay, cool. All right, I've got another question here, and guys, keep posting your questions. You're being very lovely and considerate and not posting too much tonight. So we are here for another 15 or so minutes, so please don't be afraid to ask a question. I promise I won't put you on the spot or embarrass you or anything like that. I do have, actually, I've got a couple of questions of people that have posted about their dog's behaviour. One was that their dog keeps getting up throughout the night. They're a 10-year-old dog, a Kelpie cross, that's getting up throughout the night, that previously was sleeping through the night, but is now having accidents inside. What is going on? And this is one of the ones where, you know, when you see a behavior and you're like, oh, kind of seems a bit off, but, you know, I guess the dog's getting old and that's just what dogs do. And so you just let it go and you don't sort of get it sort of investigated or treated. And there can be a whole range of reasons why an older or senior dog is getting up during the night. Often they'll be getting up to have a drink or going to the toilet. And sometimes dogs who are needing to go to the toilet who have a bit of cognitive decline. So dogs can get what's called canine cognitive decline, and that can present in a whole range of ways. And that could be just, you know, having accidents inside. A lot of behaviourists or trainers will call it inappropriate weeing or inappropriate pooing inside. There's no such thing as an inappropriate behavior because they're doing it appropriately because they need to go to the toilet and they can't physically or mentally manage to go outside like they previously did. So it's not inappropriate, it's more the fact that they just are having an accident. And that could be, yeah, as I was saying, canine cognitive decline. It could be something else going on neurologically. It could be something else going on in terms of the older dog is experiencing a bit of osteoarthritis. There's a bit of pain. It's something I wanted to ask you, Nathan, about with arthritis and treatment and things like that with pet insurance. You know, that it's too hard to get out of the doggy door, or it's raining and it's too cold outside. So I guess what we need to do, and this is why I was saying at the start of this chat, every presentation I have with my clients is I get them to go and have a full examination, a physical and a neurological examination, particularly for senior dogs and cats, to rule out any pathology. Because as I said before, there's no point me trying to fix how a dog or a cat is feeling if there's something going on. And pain is a very underrated ailment with pets, particularly with toileting inside, and cats as well, chronic kidney disease, urinary tract infections, those sorts of things. If your cat is missing the litter tray, you know, the first thing I think about is there some sort of physiological cause to that, or are they experiencing some sort of distress in terms of their biology? So I would go to the vet. I'd get some bloods done. I'd get an examination done and see if, you know, their their signs are normal, or if there's actually something else going on. And usually if there is something else going on that we can identify and diagnose, we can manage those things to help the dog, you know, sleep through the night better, or get into a routine in which they can see the doggy door better with night lights, or aiding them in their aging process so that they can, you know, exist with a high quality of life as they're getting older and older. And certainly for me, an example is my dog Chester. He's just turned 15. He has night lights to get outside. I've changed his doggy door so it's easier for him to get out. He doesn't have accidents inside at this stage, but I'm trying to prevent those things from happening as much as I possibly can to set him up for success so that he doesn't get stressed. And as dogs and cats get older, they can become more and more anxious. So we want to help to alleviate any of that stuff by creating environments in which they're familiar with, they know where to find things, and we're not changing things too much for them. So please, and let us know what your vet says, and then we can go from there. All right. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there's just a quick question for you, Nathan. With, you know, your cutoff age is 9. Is arthritis in a senior dog of the age of 9? Is that a pre-existing? This probably sounds like a stupid question, because there's a whole range of different signs that could indicate that the dog is experiencing pain. Is pain a is
Well, it's pre-existing symptoms, and so if your dog was 8 and you hadn't taken out pet insurance, and it was exhibiting pain, and you and your vet hadn't got to the bottom of it, but you're investigating it, whatever that is pre-existing, then you take out insurance. It's pre-existing because you're trying to work out, you know, something's wrong. You just don't know yet. Um, if if it was a puppy and you took out pet insurance and you've had it all that time and later it develops arthritis, then that's covered.
okay? Yeah, and that makes sense. All right. And in terms of what's covered, is that you were talking about how, yes, there are chiropractors for pets. Is that an extra? So if I've got a puppy who's now, 10, I've had nose pet insurance the whole time, and now I want to get acupuncture and I want to get some hydrotherapy and some physio. Is that something that I would add on at some point, and when do I need to add that on to be able to be covered for it?
No, you need to have already had that. You can't then add it on and then get cover for these other treatments. So you need to have also had that extras there. But then once you've got that, and the same with the whole policy, we don't dictate how you treat your pet. You and your vet, or you and your behaviourist will work that out together, and there's no sub limits or restrictions other than your total annual limit. As long as you're fitting in that bucket, there's no, where you've got extras and you've got 500 for major dental and
Yeah.
100. There's none of that. It's just, there's no limit on we don't know where the bad luck's going to be. You don't know where the bad luck's going to be. So we don't place any limits on that. And we don't want you to choose certain treatments because I've run out of limit there and I'll use this limit over here. So we'll do a different treatment, even though it might not be the best one for that you and your vet decide. So that's why we've said no limits, just one big annual limit, and you choose how you and your vet choose how you use that.
Wow. Okay, so it's really up to the vet. To be able to dictate or advise how that's. And does that include referrals to behaviourists and trainers? So you present to your vet will say, look, there's some sort of acute or chronic anxiety disorder or something. We need to talk to a behaviourist. They would recommend the behaviourist, or that person would find the behaviourist, and you go from there.
Yeah, because it needs to be diagnosed by a vet first and then referred. You can't just go straight. You can't just go straight to Laura. You've got to go to your vet.
Yeah. And that's just like with people, isn't it? You go and see your GP, then you get your mental health care plan, then you see your psychologist. It's the same thing with pets. And it was interesting because I had private health insurance when I had my baby, but I had to have had that cover for a year before I had her. What's the timeline that you have to have those extras cover for before you can actually claim them?
So it depends.
Okay. I'm asking all the hard questions.
Yeah. So for behaviour, it's 6 months, and there needs to be nothing pre-existing in that time either. Where dental's an interesting one. Dental is if you buy the policy before your pet turns 1, it's 14 days. After 1, it's 6 months.
Oh, okay.
And the reason we've done that is because we know if you've got it as a puppy, you're not buying it because you think there's a dental problem.
Yeah.
So it's only 14 days. But if you buy once it's older, you might be buying the policy because there's a dental problem, and that's why it's longer. Again, to protect all the customers, protect ourselves as well as all the other policyholders.
Yeah, I read something, and I've read it a few times before. I can't remember the exact percentage, but by the age of 3, 70% odd of dogs have got some form of dental disease. Is that roughly right? Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in fact, what we've only just made a change where if you want extras, you need, because we've got dental in the extras, and later we might split them out, so behaviour is separate. But we've made extras. You can't add that to your policy once your pet turns 3. You've got to add it before then.
Yeah.
In the future, we'll split them out so you can pick and choose and still add extras, add behaviour later.
Yeah.
But while it's sort of bundled together, we've made the decision. We don't want people buying it and then going, oh, I've gone for dental and it's pre-existing, and then you're paying for something that's not worth it. We don't want to take people's money when there's no cover there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You've actually got another question, Nath, from Nicole. She said, I have a rescue, have rescued a poodle at 14 months. She has an overbite. It's not causing any issues now. If later she needs a dental because her mouth doesn't line up and needs some teeth out, is that pre-existing?
Yeah. That you again, it becomes to what's unforeseen versus foreseen. So what's known about or not known about. And unfortunately for you, that is foreseen. Like there's a high likelihood you know about it. It's pre-existing. Lily, who's gone to sleep on the beanbag, I think, she had an underbite, and so her teeth were pushing in when she was a puppy. I didn't do anything about it, and we were lucky. She was fine once the adult teeth came. It was fine, and we're seeing a lot of overbite, um, and generally we don't see that developing once the adult teeth comes. Obviously, for some it's extreme. For many, it tends to actually sort itself out with the adult teeth coming.
That's interesting.
Mm.
That's what another thing I love about you guys is just very honest and transparent. Like these are really great questions, and you're just, you're saying it how it is, and I think that's something that everyone really appreciates. So
Yeah,
thanks for Nathan.
I think myself and my co-founder, we wanted to be completely transparent and go and be really honest and go, well, we're not going to make smoke and mirrors and say something might be covered when it just won't.
And I think that's, from my experience previously with other insurance providers, it sort of seems like it's all this, this fancy, amazing, you're covered for everything. And then you've got to read this exhaustive, um, you know, product disclaimer about all these things that aren't actually covered. I know every business has to have that, but often I've heard people are sort of quite surprised when they go to make a claim thinking that they were covered by something, and they're not. And that's something that I think a lot of people are a bit, squeamish about when it comes to any insurance. So knowing that, you're being really transparent, I think is really, really refreshing.
Yeah. All right.
We've got another question. I'm not sure if it's for you or me, so let's read it out quickly. We've got a few minutes left, so Nathan hasn't fallen asleep, so that's a very good sign. I know he's had a big day. Hi, my dog is a rescue. You're awesome. Staffordshire Bull Terrier Cross, even more awesome. He's 5 months old. He was dumped with his brothers and hardly had any human interactions. He's healthy, scared of noises, overactive, jumping a lot against doors, cars, people. What training method will be good for him as his and there's so many options and I don't know which one will be the best for him. Such a great question, Elma. Uh, what training methods are best? Oh, where do we begin? We've only got 5 minutes left. I think training is what we need to do when we're training a dog or anyone, we're changing or we're modifying or we're reinforcing behaviours. We've got to do it through the lens of the animal, not through our expectations as the owner. So we don't want a dog to jump up. We don't want them to mouth. We don't want them to bark. We want them to be this perfectly behaved dog from a human perspective. But a lot of dog behaviour is breed influenced, but also individually influenced and genetically influenced, in that there are different species to us. So dogs dig, dogs do bark, dogs do, growl and snarl. Dogs do all these things that we don't like the look of, but are actually very natural behaviours for dogs. So keep that in the back of your mind every time you see them do something that you're like, oh, that's kind of really irritating. But is that because it bothers me, or is that actually because it bothers the dog? So if we want to train a 5-month-old Staffy Cross who's very, very active, I would suggest you go and find a local training group. Now, that's not a dog obedience club. That's a group of people who are force-free trainers that have, group classes, assuming that your puppy is happy to be involved in that and they're not super anxious or overstimulated, and get some personal one-on-one advice with someone who understands canine behavior, who is qualified. It's a very unregulated industry. Anyone can call themselves a dog trainer or a dog behaviorist. But that doesn't necessarily mean they have any background or scientific understanding of how dogs think and why they do what they do. So do a bit of background search. I'm more than happy to look up, in your area who would be good to help you with. But generally, if we use punitive methods, if we use choke chains, if we use corrections and we want obedience training, we may get improvement in the behaviors that bother us. But over time, we don't build the relationship with that dog through trust and respect. And what often happens is we don't deal with what's causing them to become overstimulated, like the jumping and things like that. And so when they are still overstimulated in a year or so time, they jump, you have to actually increase the punishment to get the result. So you're actually having to make things more and more punitive to get what you want from your dog over time. And if you think about any relationship, that's a really crappy way to have a relationship. And that's not what we want for someone that we love and we care about in our family. So as I say, we want to use empathy. We want to set our puppy up for success. So if your dog is jumping, what causes them to jump? When do they get overexcitable? When are they overstimulated? And how can we set them up so we're not doing all that straight away? We're letting them see someone that they're really excited to see, but at a distance in which they can still focus on us, get them to look at us, get them to sit or do something that redirects their attention and their behavior, and then let them go and say hello. So it does take time. You've got a beautiful, active, intelligent dog that's young. So it's a big job. It's a big undertaking. It's not just, you go and watch the dog daddy on TikTok or Caesar Milan on YouTube and, within half an hour, that dog's perfectly behaved and sitting straight and, looking at that person. That's not how the real world works. And that's not how you get behaviors that are desirable long term. So put the effort in. I'm more than happy to help you find a really reputable trainer near you and get some help personally, one-on-one. I think that's definitely the way to go. I was talking to someone today, Nathan, about all these different ways that these dog trainers on television get these amazing results in half an hour. Actually, it was a friend asking me, like, how do they edit this? And I'm like, well, they want to make the trainer look good. So they've got half an hour show. It's probably a week's worth of filming. And then they cut that up into 25 minutes. You're going to get the best of the best. That dog's going to be exhausted by the end of it. And so when we're filming and I've done a little bit of television, when you're looking at, the outcome or the result of something, you want to make the person look good and you want to show the best and the worst at the start and the best at the end. And it's not real. Reality television in dog training land is not real. It's kind of like Married at First Sight, but dog training. So yeah, just keep that in the back of your mind. You're building a relationship. You're not after a behavior. And I said at the start of this session, guys, behaviors are not good or bad. They are signs of how a dog or a cat or anyone is feeling emotionally or physically. So, if they're overstimulated, that means they don't have the impulse control. They're overexcitable. So let's work on that rather than having to fix the problem that's bothering us, if that makes sense. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and feel free. Laura@laurav.com.au is my email address, or head to knose.com.au and ask them to get in touch with me as well. So yeah, that's some great questions, Nathan, and some good questions for you as well. And I got lots of questions answered for me too. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to our chat before we sign off and we do this all again in a month or two's time?
I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed listening to you. I was surprised to get so many questions, but I love talking about Knose and insurance and why we're different. I do want to finish on one thing, and you talked about the dogs have their own behaviour. So I've got a Lagotto. So they in Italy they're used for truffle hunting. So they sniff things and then dig. That's what they're trained to do. No one told me that when I got her. So the backyard started getting holes everywhere. I was never going to be able to train that out of her. Like you said, you'd have to keep beating her all. I'd end up beating her, I think. So I take her to the beach every morning, and she runs around, digs and digs and digs and digs, and it works. It gets it out. She's done all her digging for the day.
She's found all her truffles. Yeah.
Found all the truffles, but she sniffs something, who knows what, and digs a hole. She's head and shoulders in. She digs a hole in seconds, and is then happy for the rest of the day.
That's so cool. And I love that you're actually listening to who she is and who she needs to be. And I think a lot of the time, a lot of, you know, when we're looking at these TV shows or TikTok or being told, you know, this is how a dog needs to behave, we're denying the dog to be who they are as a species and as a breed and as an individual. And so to hear, you know, you as the COO of a pet insurance company talk about how you love all the things that drive you would, you know, ordinarily drive someone mad about their dog, you appreciate and you know, you encourage is so awesome. So yeah, Legatos are gorgeous. They're beautiful dogs.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have one, but they're beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Nathan. You are a superstar. We'll catch you in a couple of months' time. Guys, if I haven't answered your questions or Nathan hasn't, I'll send them to him or I'll answer them for you on Facebook when we look through them again. And yeah, I'm sure that, you know, knose.com.au, if anyone has any other questions, you guys are happy to answer anything that people are still wanting covered.
yeah, for sure. We
Yeah.
thanks, Laura. I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll look for the next one. If
Yeah,
you
awesome.
might want our vet, Amelia.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think a behaviour, Nathan, expert on nose insurance and a vet would be awesome. We'll do a three-way collaboration. That'd be
Oh
awesome.
yeah,
Look forward to it. All right, well,
all right.
guys, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night. I'm going to go and tend to my 4-week-old baby now and try and get 1 hour sleep out of 24 hours. Wish me luck, and I'll chat to you all soon. Thanks, Nathan, again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Good luck.
guys. Thank you.